Hi, I'm Lillie, I'm 22, I'm a film student and I'm here to watch some Islamic videos today with Islam Reacts.
Support our channel by shopping at our store, memandmoon.com. Get the cutest Islamic stickers, pins and accessories.
I have an agnostic background, so my family were religious, but they never pushed any religious beliefs on us. But I have sort of found my way back to spirituality in my own sort of way. I don't associate or affiliate with any organised religion in particular, but I'm really excited and open to hearing lots of views and opinions, and I think that's the exciting bit about life, is just hearing what everyone's got to say and just figuring it out.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا قالت أنى يكون لي غلام ولم يمسسني بشر ولم أك بغيا قال كذلك قال ربك هو علي هين ولنجعله آية للناس ورحمة منا وكان أمرا مقضيا فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا فأجاءها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شقيا والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا ذلك عيسى ابن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون ما كان لله أن يتخذ من ولد سبحانه إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون وإن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم فاختلف الأحزاب من بينهم فويل للذين كفروا من مشهد يوم عظيم أسمع بهم وأبصر يوم يأتوننا لكن الظالمون اليوم في ضلال مبين وأنذرهم يوم الحسرة إذ قضي الأمر وهم في غفلة وهم لا يؤمنون.
Just initial thoughts, feelings.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that Muslims believe in Jesus. Well, I think a lot of like white people don't think that they overlap. But it was interesting because the way that I heard Jesus, like the birth of Jesus story be told, isn't the same as obviously like what we're taught in, you know, Protestant schools. So that was really interesting. And Jesus speaks like right away, like when he's a baby, he speaks. Wow.
This chapter is obviously named after his mother Mary, and yeah, there's a few miracles of his mentioned in the Qur'an that are not mentioned in the Bible. That being one of them, when he spoke as a child. But that miracle, the purpose of it was that his mother was in danger, because obviously in those times, like not being married, having a child, that was, you know, a big thing.
Yeah.
So when they saw her with a child, obviously the first thing is they accused her of, you know, adultery and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's when he spoke and defended his mother. So actually saved her life, because otherwise it would have been chaos basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's quite convenient how Protestantism and like general Christianity has adopted Jesus and forgetting that he's a man of the Middle East. You know what I mean? I feel like, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I find it so interesting.
Did you notice any themes in this chapter that kind of align with your own beliefs or values, or maybe clash with them?
Yeah, I mean, it was different. It was different to how we were taught, because obviously Joseph isn't mentioned in this passage. And they're not going to Bethlehem to be counted, and it seems like perhaps I've like misinterpreted it, but it just seems like she just becomes like pregnant and then just like has the baby immediately, whereas I think in Christianity it's like a pregnancy and it's a whole, you know, it's longer. I feel like, to be honest with you, this explanation, obviously I don't believe that it's a true story, but if I were to buy either one, I feel like this one makes a bit more sense, just how, because you're right, like in those times it would have been so scandalous for a woman to have been pregnant. And I did always think this when I was younger. I was like, people are just buying the fact that she's just pregnant, just like it's God's child. Like how are we just buying that? How are we just taking that at face value?
Yeah, like you said, you know, things kind of make more sense in Islam, especially the theology of it, because try and convince someone that there's a Trinity is very hard.
Yes.
You've got to argue and debate with them and just try and warp their logic almost.
Sure.
Because, you know, how can three people be one person be three? One of the things I like to kind of, it's not a proof of Islam, but it's just to make them think about how easy Islam is. In Islam, there's just one God. He doesn't have a son. He doesn't have a partner. He's not a specific gender. It's just in the language we use he. You know, if he needed any of those things, we would say he's not God, because he should be completely self-sufficient and all-powerful. And I always say to people, if you put someone on an island by themselves with no civilization or anything, that person could naturally come to a conclusion that, okay, I'm looking at all these things around me, the trees, the island, the world. It suggests to me that there's a creator because of the design of it all. Naturally, they would assume that there's just one creator, and you wouldn't need to make any partners around that. It's just one thing. You could naturally come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put a person on an island and imagine that they would come to the conclusion that there's a Trinity, it'd be it wouldn't make sense, you know. They just naturally wouldn't be able to deduce that.
Right.
I mean, why would they put one son and not two sons then?
Mm.
Why wouldn't they have four and not three?
Yeah.
You know, it would just, it's like, if that is really the correct theology, someone should naturally be able to kind of ascribe to that through their own, you know, logic in some way.
Okay.
And in Islam, it's just one and that's it.
Mm.
One creator, one designer, that's it. And you're right, like Mary, you know, being pregnant, that would have been a big deal. This miracle kind of makes sense because he saved his mother.
Mm.
There's no Joseph in Islam because that would semi-negate the miracle if she had a husband or a partner.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that she's now pregnant with a child of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then the major difference is that we don't believe Jesus is the Son of God.
Right.
He's a prophet and a human.
Right. Okay.
Because, like I said, automatically, if you ascribe a partner or son or something to God that's not befitting for him, then he's not God anymore, you know.
Yeah.
God doesn't need to eat, he doesn't need to sleep, he's self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the major difference. We respect Jesus as a prophet, but we don't believe any human being is worthy of being worshipped, you know.
Yeah.
If they're human or idol or object, they don't deserve to be worshipped. Did this recitation evoke any particular emotions in you?
Emotions, I don't know. Like, I was listening to it and I was like, okay, it's an interesting. I think it's because I'm, you know, white Protestant and I've been raised in like a certain environment and community. It was just interesting to hear, like a story that's very well known, but like reshaped through a different lens. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. But as emotionally, I didn't feel like a pull or anything like that.
What about the recitation of it, the audio?
Yeah, it was cool. It's very impressive that people can remember because I think there's like a word for it, but there are people that have that they memorize the Quran because I think it's like one of the few religions that it's like even if all the physical evidence was scrapped of it, it would still exist because people have remembered it and will recite it.
That's right. Yeah, it's the term is called hafiz, which is someone who's memorized the whole Quran.
Yeah.
So the Quran is the biggest miracle of Islam.
Right.
So we believe it's the word of God directly. So God spoke these words. The angel Gabriel brought them down and told them to the Prophet Muhammad, and then he told his followers.
Right.
It's very much an oral tradition in terms of like just speech. Yeah. This was a process over 23 years. It didn't just come down in one go. It was like a few verses here and there, especially when a situation happened at the time, and then God would reveal some verses in regards to that. So that is the biggest miracle of Islam because the Arabic language was at the peak at that time. Poets were the like celebrities at that era, you know, and mastery of like Arabic language was the most like prized thing. So I don't know if you ever seen the Kaaba, the black cube structure in Mecca.
Yeah.
So before Islam, poetry was regarded in such a high like esteem that they nailed poems to that structure.
Right, okay.
So that's how much they loved the language in poetry. So the Quran came down and it basically blew them all away. So all the poets, they, from the language and the tone and the recitation and the message, they understood that this is not from a human.
Right.
And couple that with the fact that Muhammad, he couldn't read or write. He was illiterate.
Wow.
So that's what makes him more miraculous. And then the time scale that I came down, so 23 years, the lack of contradiction in it, across all them years, there's no contradictions. And then if you consider the context of what was going on, there's like wars happening, people fighting, you know, there's struggle, there's famine, there's poverty. Yet through all of it, this remained consistent, which doesn't make sense because you'd imagine if there's emergency states and wars and stuff going on, this would be all over the place. But that's kind of the one of the miracles of the Quran. And going back to the original point, another miracle is how many people have memorized it who are not Arabs. There's more non-Arabs who have memorized the Quran than Arabs.
Wow.
So you'll get a Muslim child in China who's memorized the whole Quran. He doesn't know a word of Arabic. Even in this city, you'll find tons of people who have memorized the whole thing, you know.
Yeah. Because don't you get more blessings in heaven if you do that?
Yeah, so it's told on the Day of Judgment, you will be told to recite however much you knew and because we believe in paradise, there's ranks, there's levels.
Yeah. Okay.
And the more you memorise and recite, the higher up you'll go, basically. It's like an encouragement to try and memorise as much as you can. So this chapter, it emphasises like themes of faith, patience. You know, Mary, she had to be patient with what happened. She struggled. She was out in the desert. You know, there's like divine mercy and things like that. How do you think these values are kind of relevant in today's world?
It's cool. I think my dad and I had a discussion about religion, because like he was raised like Christian. Like my grandpa was a bishop, so my dad was raised with a lot of that, and then was just like, But I think he secretly got a lot of spirituality still in him because we talk about it. And he was like, I think the cool thing about like religion is that it gives you. He was like, I don't think it's meant to be taken literally, but I think like the stories that they tell you, like those values that come out of those stories is what you're supposed to like put into the world. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like I think it's cool that there's such an influential text that governs so many people's lives that will push them to patience and things, if for nothing else, so that we can. Because I feel like if it's a command from God, then like, of course you're going to do it, right? But then equally, that can also be warped and twisted in a lot of ways that aren't good.
After listening to this chapter, do you feel like it raises any questions or inspires like more curiosity about learning what Islam kind of says about things? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Because there's lots of bits of religion that don't make sense to me. Lots of contradiction. So it's interesting to like learn different perspectives. And also I think it's important because there's so much. I think it's very easy, especially because of like the media, like I said in the little like bit that I wrote to you, but like it's all the Islamophobia is just horrific. It's gross. And I think it's really important to just at least be open-minded and just try and be educated, because it's so easy to point the finger, especially because it's like Islam isn't a religion that's associated with like whiteness. So obviously it's easy for that to be like the scapegoat, and obviously because people take it to extreme levels and take things out of context to justify bigotry, you know. So yeah, I think it definitely encourages me to be curious about that.